What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to go ahead and continue with episode 119. We're going to be continuing part 2 of our series on the basics of charting for Tradingview. So this is going to be part 2. So where we left off the last time, I showed you guys how to draw the support and resistance lines. We went over how to identify it, and we also went over using various tools. One of the most popular tools was the trendline tool, particularly this horizontal tool right here. All right. So before we go any further, I wanted to show you guys the same pop-up bar that we just talked about, but I'm also going to show you how to add, I would say, like frequently used tools on that pop-up bar, or in this case, it's called favorites. So on this pop-up bar right here, right, let's drag it to the front. These are all the tools that are like my favorite tools. All right, so we have this rectangle tool here. We have the horizontal line tool, which I showed you guys how to use here. And then we also have the trend line, right, which is the basic trend line. Then we have the extended line. We also have the vertical line, and we use this eclipse tool, right? Then we also have a forecasting tool, and we have a couple more tools here. So how you would get any type of particular drawing tool on this favorite list. So let's say we go to the trend line area, right? So we click that arrow and it pops up. Right now it's on the horizontal tool. And you'll notice here that there's a star beside it. So whenever you add a star by just clicking here, this tool is automatically going to be added to your pop-up tool as a favorite. All right, so I'll give you an example. Let's use this one. This one's also a very popular tool, which is the horizontal ray. If you go ahead and click it, you'll notice that the horizontal ray is now added to the line. All right, so what the horizontal ray does, and I'll show you guys right now, we'll click the horizontal ray line here. All right, so we have that selected. And if I click here, it just shoots out a horizontal line to the right from wherever you put the cursor. All right, so right now the line is selected, and then obviously when the line is selected, you could go up here, right, and assign it to a template if you want. So we already know about the templates that we have. So you could set up a template for this particular ray line, right? Or you could go ahead and change the color, things like that, just like I showed you guys before. All right, so let's go ahead now and just hit delete on the keyboard, and it will remove it. And then let's go ahead and go down here to this point, right? So pretty much what this does is it allows you to find like an anchor point, and then once you click it, it'll just shoot out a horizontal line to the right of that line. Now the regular horizontal tool, when you click it, it shoots the line in the left and right direction. This one just does it in the right. All right, so if we go ahead and we look at this point right here, so right where we have this little doji forming, we select it, sorry, and then we click right where we have this little doji line forming, candle forming, boom, and it just shoots across. And if you keep scrolling, the line just keeps going. Just like the horizontal lines here, it's infinite. So it's just going to keep going. The difference is it's going to start from this direction. All right. So that's just another trend line tool that you could use, which would also be very useful. So let's go ahead and just select this, and we're going to remove it from the chart. The next trend line tool that we're going to also take a look at right now is going to be, we're going to look at the extended trend line tool. All right, and as you guys can see, this is also a favorite of mine. So let's go ahead and click on the extended trend line tool. All right, so go ahead and select that, and now it is selected. And if we click here, right, it automatically sets a trend line up in each direction. But notice it allows you to like turn it at an angle. So from the anchor point, you could just pretty much move it here and line it up. And once you're done, you could just click outside. But you'll notice here we have a touch. We have another touch here, so that's 2, another one, 3, 4, 5. So there's definitely a trend going on here, right? And just like the basic trend line tool, you can also go ahead and just clone this as well if you need to. So we go ahead and select the line here, and we could just go back up and we select clone, right? And it's gonna move, it's gonna create another trend line here, right? It's an ascending trend line, and you could just move it up to where you're getting the touches. So boom, see, we have a high here, we have a higher high, we have another one, and so on. All right, and essentially because now we have a line here at the bottom of this trend, and then we have another line at the top, this is essentially what's called a channel. All right, so let's go ahead now and just remove these from the board real quickly. So we're gonna select and hit delete. You could always go back here and press this button and it'll clear everything, but I don't necessarily want to clear everything, just those 2 lines. All right, so the next tool that I want to show you guys, it's going to be still under the trend line, guys, so we're still under here. Next tool I want to show you guys is this one, which is just a ray tool. So I showed you guys the horizontal ray. This is just a ray, but in ascending trend. You would select the ray tool and then click here, and boom, it just shoots up. And notice it shoots up, so we could just move it around, select right where we want it to be, but just notice it shoots up from this point that you set it. All right, so here, as you can see, touch, touch, touch. Now you could do all these things with just the regular trend line tool. The difference is, like I showed you guys, this just makes these tools, these ray tools, the horizontal line tools, you know. So here, now that we have this tool selected, we could just go ahead, click and clone and do the same thing that we did before. And we're just dragging it up here to where we have touches at the top. And again, here we have a channel. All right, so this is what is considered an ascending channel, right? And most people will use an ascending channel if they're looking for a breakout. So same concept, as you guys can see, we have an ascending channel. And like I said before, most people will look to see if it breaks below this channel, because chances are if it breaks out of the channel, it becomes bearish. All right, as you guys can see. Now if it breaks above the channel, it's going to start going higher. All right, so that's the whole point of really setting up channels, is to identify an area that the stock is comfortable moving within while still staying within the trend, in this case, because the channel is ascending. So if you're riding it from here, you know, boom, 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 you'd have a couple of ups and downs, but it was going. But notice here, it also gets to like the midpoint, right? Like the average. And then once it gets to the average, it kind of respects that and then starts to slide. So let's go ahead and delete this. And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at another line drawing tool. The whole aim of this series is I want to see if I could get you guys, you know, just real familiar with how to use the basic tools that are in Tradingview. And then, you know, later on from there, if you guys want to get more advanced, then we could talk about that as well. All right, so the other tool I wanted to show you guys is just this info tool here. It's called the info line. So let's go ahead and select that, all right? And we could click here, we drag it up. Let's say we go to this point here, all right? And we stop. So it's just like the basic trend line tool. We drag from one point to the next, click, stop. But notice here that it has some information, all right? So it tells you here the time frame it would take from it to go from this point to this point. It says here it's gonna be 74 bars and the distance is 607 pixels, right? So, and then it just gives you the degrees, which is 22 degrees. So this just gives you some additional information. Have I used this tool? No, but some people do. All right. So just wanted to show you guys that, but it just gives you some basic information on the trend line. And then we have this one as well, which is the trend angle tool. All right. So this one here, click it, drag it up, same thing. Let's say we stop around here, right? And this just tells you that the angle here is 21 degrees. You know, this is not another tool that I use, but some people do, so I figured I'd show you guys. If you notice, this was just off by like, what is that, like 1 degree, right? The first one was 22 degrees. The info line was 22 degrees. This one clocked it at 21. All right, so if you grab this and you move it down, you could see the degrees going down. You could go boom, boom, boom. So you could get it up here to 22. And I guess I could see how useful that would be if you want to be like real precise in terms of like retracing your previous steps or the history of the actual movement. You know, some people like supply and demand areas. I like lines because of the accuracy. So I could see how, this could be potentially useful. But like I said, this is not something that I use. All right, so let's go ahead and delete that. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it, I would say, for the trend lines. Now, I wanted to show you some of the other popular items that I use, which is on my favorites list. All right, so this is like a rectangle tool. All right, so a lot of people use this to draw, like, say, like support and supply and demand zones. All right, so they would click here, drag this over, right? And they would use this to say identify an area where when the stock gets in this area, it responds a certain way. All right, just like the other tool, we could, once it's selected, we could go ahead up here and we could clone, and we could clone it. And when you clone it, just move the mouse over and then drag it down to the other area here. All right, so in supply and demand, I would say this area would be supply, and then we would have demand. All right, so that's another tool that's very popular. If you're into the supply and demand concepts, then that would be one of the tools that you would be using, which is that rectangle tool right there. All right, now we do have a couple of different tools here. We have another one which is very popular, and I've used this. Sometimes it works really well, but what this tool does, it just gives you a forecast of potentially where the stock is going to go. So let's go ahead and just go over to this tool right here, which is called the forecast tool. So we go ahead and we click this, right? And let's say we click at the bottom here, right, of this line. Let's say we bring it up to here. All right, so when we click from here to here, you can see it just gives you some basic information. All right, so it tells you moving from this point on the chart to this point, this is going to be the move. It's going to take 37 days to get to that move. All right, the price is going to be estimated at whatever is listed here, and then it also gives you some measurements. So some people use this tool, some people find it to be very accurate. I think it depends on the stock. On something like this, like QQQ, this ETF, it might work out perfect. On something like a fast moving stock, like say like Nvidia, something like that, or Tesla, I don't necessarily know how accurate it is. But that's another tool, and I've used it too, just to kind of get a handle on where I think the stock price is going, and then get an estimate of how many days it's saying, hey, it's going to take these amount of days to get to that point. All right, and then the last two tools we have here we have a long position tool, and then we have the short position tool. So a long position tool, what this does, so let's click this, right? So we click here, right? And long position tool pretty much tells you, hey, this is the area that the candles are gonna go up, right? So this is the estimated area that it's gonna move. It tells you the target, and then it tells you the percentage, and gives you the amount of potential gains. And this area is where you would set up your stop loss, right? And it just gives you an idea of what you could potentially make or lose. These tools are a little bit more complicated, so I'll dive deeper into these tools at a later date. But these are also on my favorite. So we have the long tool, and then we have the short tool, which is the same. This is also the image importing tool. So sometimes I'll need to like put a image inside my chart, just like I did here with this with my Instagram information here, right? You would use this tool, and then obviously this is the horizontal ray tool. All right. That's it for the video today, guys. I hope you found this information useful. If you did, consider subscribing. I make new videos like this every day. Please go ahead and like this video and share this video with a family member or a friend. This video was part 2. There's going to be a part 3 coming. I'm pretty much sure it's going to be like around, I would say, episode 121. The first one was episode 117. This one is episode 119. So I'm going to make episode 121, the second part, where we dive deeper into some more of these charting tools. And then we'll look at a basic setup on a stock that we're potentially looking to invest into. All right. Thanks again for watching the video. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.